You've been feeling it for a while now. Not pain exactly. Not sadness in the way you'd recognize it. Just this low, constant hum beneath everything you do. A tightness in your chest that doesn't leave. A sense that your own life has become slightly too small for you. Like clothes that fit last year but pull at the seams now. Nothing dramatic happened. No one can point to the day it started. You still show up. You still handle what needs handling. You answer messages, meet deadlines, smile when it's expected. From the outside, you're fine. Functional, maybe even successful by most measures. But inside, something has shifted. You wake up and the first feeling isn't energy or even tiredness. It's a kind of bracing. A quiet negotiation with yourself about how much you can manage to perform today. Not perform as in pretend. Perform as in execute. Be the version of you that others rely on. The one who doesn't complicate things. The one who keeps it together. And you do. You keep it together. But the effort has become visible to you now, even if no one else sees it. You go through your days and everything looks normal. You have conversations. You make decisions. You fulfill obligations. You respond to what's asked of you. There's no obvious breakdown, no moment where everything falls apart. You're still capable. Still present, in the technical sense. Still doing what needs to be done. But there's this growing awareness that you're operating at a distance from yourself. Like you're watching your life happen slightly outside of you. You're there, but you're not quite there. Present, but removed. Going through the motions with precision, but without full presence. The mundane details of your life continue unchanged. The same routines, the same responsibilities, the same relationships mostly. Nothing on the surface would suggest anything is different. And yet everything feels different. Not worse, necessarily. Just off, misaligned. There's a gap opening between the life you're living and the person you're becoming, between what you're doing and what actually matters to you. It's not that your life is bad. It's not that you made wrong choices. It's that the shape of things no longer matches the shape of you. You feel it most in the small moments. A conversation where you say what's expected instead of what's true. A decision you agree to because disagreeing feels too complicated. A night where you're too tired to do anything but scroll, even though scrolling makes you feel worse. A meeting where you contribute the right amount, say the appropriate things, and leave feeling like you weren't really there at all. You're not suffering in any obvious way, you're just not quite there. And the exhaustion isn't the kind that sleep fixes. You've tried resting. You've tried taking breaks, drinking more water, getting outside. All the things people suggest. You've tried going to bed earlier, cutting back on caffeine, exercising more, exercising less. You've tried every practical adjustment you can think of. But this tiredness lives deeper. It's the fatigue of maintaining a version of yourself that no longer fits, of holding a shape you've outgrown, of carrying something that's become too heavy. Not because it's inherently heavy, but because you've been carrying it for too long without putting it down. It's the exhaustion of code switching through your own life, of translating what you feel into what's acceptable, of editing yourself in real time, constantly, so automatically you barely notice you're doing it anymore. Except now you do notice. And noticing makes it heavier. You learned how to do this a long time ago. How to be easy. How to not ask for too much. How to read the room and adjust accordingly. How to sense what's needed and become that. How to be the person who doesn't create problems, who stays calm, who can be counted on. The person who makes things smoother for everyone else. And it worked. For years it worked. It kept you safe. It kept you connected. It got you through situations that required you to be smaller than you were. Family dynamics that didn't have room for your full range. Educational systems that rewarded compliance, workplaces that valued steadiness over authenticity, relationships where your role was to be supportive, not supported. You became good at it. So good that it became invisible. So good that people stopped seeing it as an adaptation and started seeing it as just who you are. Maybe you stopped seeing it too. Maybe you forgot there was ever another way to be. But adaptations that once protected you can become cages. The behaviors that kept you safe in one context become limitations in another. The skills that helped you survive become barriers to living fully. What was once necessary becomes optional, then becomes constricting, then becomes unbearable. But the shift happens so gradually you don't see it coming. Nothing in you broke suddenly. There was no collapse, no crisis that anyone noticed. It happened slowly, so slowly you didn't see it. A little less color in your days. A little less feeling in your responses. A little more distance between what you want and what you allow yourself to want. Like a photograph left in the sun, fading so gradually you don't realize how much has been lost until you see it next to the original. Except you don't have the original anymore. You just have this vague sense that something used to be brighter. You started saying yes when you meant no, not dramatically. Not to things that felt obviously wrong, just to things that didn't quite fit. Opportunities that sounded good on paper but felt hollow in practice. Commitments that made sense logically but drained you emotionally. Relationships that looked right from the outside but left you feeling alone. And each yes that should have been a no took something from you. Not all at once, just a little bit. A small compromise here, a minor adjustment there. Nothing you couldn't handle. Nothing that felt worth making a fuss over. But they accumulated. You stopped doing things you used to love because there wasn't time, or energy, or space. You stopped saying what you really thought because it seemed easier to keep the peace. You stopped asking for what you needed because you learned that your needs were often treated as inconveniences. You stopped trusting your own reactions because they didn't match what you were supposed to feel. And somewhere in all of that, you lost track of what was actually yours. Your preferences, your boundaries, your desires, your truth. Not because you wanted to lose them, because the cost of keeping them visible was too high. The anxiety makes sense now, even if it didn't before. The irritation that flares up over small things. The flatness that settles in when you're alone. The restlessness that won't let you settle, even when you're sitting still. The sudden tears that come from nowhere. The numbness that blankets everything. You thought these were problems. Flaws in your wiring. Evidence that something in you wasn't working right. You tried to manage them, control them, make them go away. You read articles about stress management. You tried meditation apps. You wondered if you needed medication. You blamed yourself for not being more resilient, more balanced, more capable of handling normal life. But they're not malfunctions. They're signals. Your system telling you that the pressure has become too much. That the mismatch between who you are and how you're living has crossed a threshold. It's not that you're broken. It's that the conditions you're operating under no longer support the person you're becoming. Your body knew before your mind did. It always does. The tension in your shoulders, the tightness in your jaw, the shallow breathing you don't notice until someone points it out, the headaches that come from nowhere, the stomach problems that no doctor can quite explain, the exhaustion that rest doesn't touch. These aren't separate issues. They're all the same issue. Your body trying to tell you what your mind isn't ready to hear yet. That something fundamental has to change. What's cracking isn't you. It's the version of you that was built for an earlier time. The self you constructed to survive circumstances that no longer exist. That version did its job. It got you here. But it was never meant to be permanent. It was a bridge, not a destination. A temporary structure you built to cross from one place to another. And now you're on the other side, still carrying the bridge on your back, wondering why it's so heavy. That version of you made sense when you needed to be small to be safe, when you needed to be agreeable to be loved, when you needed to be useful to be valued, when you needed to be strong because no one else was going to be strong for you, when you needed to be invisible because visibility felt dangerous. But those conditions have changed. Maybe not all of them, maybe not completely, but enough. Enough that the old strategies don't work anymore. Enough that maintaining them costs more than they provide. And this discomfort you're feeling, it's not a sign that something's wrong with you. It's a sign that something's trying to be right. That some part of you, the part that hasn't been fully erased, is refusing to disappear. It's the part that still knows what matters. That still remembers what it feels like to be honest, to be whole, to take up the space you actually need. It's the part that won't let you forget that this isn't all there is, that you're capable of more than just functioning, that survival isn't the same as living. The pain is a threshold, not a destination, not a promise that things will get easier, just a line. On one side, the life you've been living. On the other, the life that requires you to stop pretending the first one still works. You can feel both sides of that line now. The familiar weight of what you know versus the terrifying openness of what you don't. The exhaustion of staying versus the fear of leaving. The slow death of remaining the same versus the uncertainty of becoming something else. Neither side is comfortable. That's what makes this so difficult. It's not a choice between suffering and relief. It's a choice between two kinds of discomfort. The discomfort of staying in a life that no longer fits, or the discomfort of stepping into one that doesn't exist yet. You keep seeing the same things now. The same themes in what you read, what you hear, what catches your attention. Certain words land differently. Certain conversations stay with you. Certain moments feel heavier with meaning. It's not magic, it's focus. Your mind sharpening around what you've been avoiding. The pattern was always there. You're just finally ready to see it. You notice how often you apologize for things that don't need apologies. How often you minimize your own experiences. How often you ask permission for things that should be your own choice. How often you prioritize everyone else's comfort over your own truth. You notice which relationships feel nourishing and which ones feel depleting. Which conversations leave you energized and which ones leave you drained. Which activities feed something real in you and which ones are just ways to pass time. You notice the gap between who you are in your head and who you are out loud. Between what you want to say and what you actually say. Between what you feel and what you allow yourself to feel. You notice how much energy it takes to be the version of yourself that others expect. How much editing happens before anything reaches the surface. How much gets filtered out, toned down, made palatable. And once you start noticing, you can't stop. The awareness has its own momentum. It shows you things you'd rather not see. It asks questions you'd rather not answer. It won't let you look away anymore. And the fear. Of course there's fear. Fear isn't irrational. It's intelligent. It knows what's at stake. It knows that if you listen to what you're feeling, you'll have to change things. You'll have to stop being so agreeable. You'll have to let people down. You'll have to choose yourself in ways that feel selfish, even when they're not. You'll have to risk losing what you've worked so hard to build. The fear knows that changing means uncertainty. It means not knowing how things will turn out. It means possibly being alone. It means possibly being judged. It means possibly failing. It means giving up the safety of the known for the vulnerability of the unknown. The fear gets louder when the old way stops working. Not because you're weak. Because staying the same is no longer an option your system will allow. Because the pain of remaining has finally exceeded the fear of changing. You might try to bargain with it. Try to find a way to make small adjustments without fundamental change. Try to fix the symptoms without addressing the cause. Try to feel better without doing anything differently. It's a natural impulse, the desire to have relief without risk. But you already know that won't work. You've tried it. You've tried all the small fixes. They help for a moment, and then the feeling returns. Because the feeling isn't the problem, it's the messenger. And you can't fix the problem by shooting the messenger. No one is coming to fix this for you. No book, no person, no realization will do the work of changing your life. That's not cruelty. That's just how it is. You're the only one who knows what's true. You're the only one who can decide that the discomfort of staying is finally worse than the discomfort of moving. Other people can support you. They can witness you. They can hold space for you. But they can't do it for you. They can't want it for you. They can't know what's right for you. Only you can know that. And waiting for permission is another way of avoiding the decision. Waiting for the perfect time. Waiting for more clarity. Waiting for a sign. Waiting for someone else to tell you it's okay. Waiting until you're sure. But you'll never be sure. That's not how this works. Certainty comes after movement, not before it. You move, and then you know. You choose, and then you understand. You act, and then you see. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about stopping the exhausting work of being someone you're not. It's about letting the false self crack so the real one can breathe. It's about releasing the weight you were never meant to carry. It's about remembering that you're allowed to take up space, to have needs, to speak your truth, to disappoint people, to change your mind, to want different things than you wanted before. It's about recognizing that you've been loyal to everyone except yourself, that you've honored every commitment except the one you made to your own life, that you've been so busy being good that you forgot to be real. Something in you is ending. You feel it. That's why you're here. That's why this reached you. Not because you're lost, because you're ready, because your old self, the one that carried you this far, has done its job. It brought you to this edge. It held you together long enough for you to realize you don't want to be held together anymore. You want to be whole. You can't go back. You already know too much. The door behind you is closed. Not loudly, not violently, just quietly, finally, completely. And now there's only what's ahead. Not a clear path, not a guarantee, not a map. Just the recognition that staying where you are is no longer possible, that the old way has run its course, that something else is trying to emerge, and you can either resist it or allow it. The ending doesn't come with instructions. It doesn't come with comfort. It doesn't come with answers. It just comes, quiet and certain and irreversible. And you stand at the edge of it, feeling everything and nothing, terrified and relieved, knowing only that you can't unknow what you now know, that the life you built doesn't fit anymore, that the person you were is not the person you're becoming, that something old is dying, and something else, something you can't quite name yet, is waiting.